All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. Some new information coming to light here on day number 17 in the search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, as the law enforcement say that the DNA they found on that black glove is not in that national database. So potentially some dead ends there for law enforcement. Let's be joined right now on the ground in Tucson, Arizona by Fox 10's Justin Lum. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. What can you tell us about where this stands, this investigation?
Well, I'll tell you, Andy, I mean, hopefully it is not a dead end at this point. I talked to the Pima County Sheriff one-on-one, Sheriff Nanos, who actually has a message for the suspect or suspects, which you will hear in a moment. But what stood out today is what is next with this DNA evidence found at the home of Nancy Guthrie. Meanwhile, this glove that you mentioned that had a DNA profile, we know it did not hit the CODIS system, register a hit through the FBI's national database. But Sheriff Nanos says that somehow there could be another route taken through investigative genetic genealogy to determine if there are possible relatives that are linked to whoever wore that glove that was found about 2 miles away from the crime scene just last week. Remember, we've been waiting for that profile of an unknown male to enter the CODIS system to determine if there was any match. The FBI received the preliminary results over the weekend, but this was the next step here. It was entered sometime between late last night and this morning, according to the sheriff. After going through quality control at that private lab in Florida, no hit was made. As I said, investigators believe, though, that the glove had a similar appearance to those worn by the suspect captured on Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera the night she disappeared. Meanwhile, there is still a focus on Nancy's pacemaker, which disconnected from her phone on February 1st, and investigators are working with the manufacturer and other experts, as well as that technology, to help the search efforts in the field. As we know, though, time is ticking. Nancy relies on daily medication for her heart condition, and we are now in week 3 of the search. At what point does it stop being a rescue and become a recovery mission? And can you finish off by addressing the camera and giving your message to the person or persons responsible for Nancy's abduction?
Your question really is on, again, the sheriff's belief from day one that Nancy's still here. You have no proof, nobody does, that she's not, that she's deceased. They ask me, do I have proof of life? I ask them, is there proof of death? I'm going to have that faith. And sometimes that faith, that hope, is all we have. My team, 400 people out there in the field today, woke up this morning and went out there with the hope and the belief that they're going to find Nancy and she's going to be okay. That family has that hope and belief. I'm not crushing that. We're going to continue working this case every minute of every day, and we will find her, and we will find you. The individual doing this, let her go. Just let her go. It will work out better for you in the long run. Trust me. Just let her go. Take her to a park. Take her to school. Take her to a hospital. Just let her go.
Strong words from the sheriff you heard right there, who believes that Nancy Guthrie is still alive right now in day 17 of the search. We also know that the DNA evidence found at the home does not match to that glove. It also did not match to the CODIS system at all. Now it's a matter of the investigative genetic genealogy and whatever lab results come from the evidence at Nancy's home. Andy?
Yeah, thank you. And you asked a question I had on my mind as well. How does it potentially transition from this search to, obviously, you don't want to think about the dark reality of what's going on, but just the secondary reality of what's happening there. In terms of the DNA on the glove, it did not have any matches coming back from that national database. Anybody that was arrested or they have in the system, are they going to work the genealogy route that they potentially could match it in a different way?
Yes, that's now been confirmed today that I guess, it's also known as familial DNA, but trying to find a relative of whoever put that DNA profile on the glove or whatever comes from the home. It seems like there is a lot to work with, but it just takes time. It's labor intensive. The CODIS system seems to be much faster than the investigative genetic genealogy route. I also want to mention that the PCSD says there's some activity at the property today, so there was more follow-up investigations that were conducted at the home in the area for Nancy Guthrie's residence.
And we know we just played that one-on-one, that little clip that you had with the Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. We're about to air it in full. Is there any point that stood out to you about that we can kind of key in on, that other than what you just showed stood out to you today?
There's a few, but the first question I really asked him about is if there was signs of forced entry. He has not gone on the record and confirmed that were signs of forced entry at the home or no signs. As we've talked about in the past few days, we've looked at our aerial footage, our ground footage, and besides the doorbell camera being removed in the video that we see, it doesn't seem like there was a break-in here. And he's also said in a statement that there was no botched burglary, that's never been the case, but he also won't say that there was no signs of forced entry or a sign of forced entry. So as confusing as that may be to the public right now searching for answers, we're in week 3. It is still, in general, a bit early on, but time is ticking. Nancy relies on daily medication. Her family is deeply worried and concerned. So, we're just going to continue to track this.
Yeah, and my last question before I let you go, because Pima County has also cleared Savannah Guthrie, the siblings, the spouses in this case, saying they are not suspects. What did he say potentially when you asked him about that?
Yeah, that was the big news yesterday, right, Andy, that the family was officially cleared and that they were being called victims. So I asked him, as recently as this weekend, you said that everything is on the table for questioning. When did you decide? At what point? What indication made it clear that they were not suspects? And he says a while ago, so early on in the investigation. So why things have been communicated that way, I'm not sure, but he has gone on the record now and said that they are fully clear and they are not suspects.
Yeah, they are cooperative with law enforcement. Justin Lum down there in Tucson, Arizona, thank you so much for your time. You're reporting on Live Now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, great reporting there about some big developments today. He actually got to sit one-on-one with Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos talking about some of these developments. Our Fox team in full also down there. Matt Finn reporting this, telling Fox News that the one glove, which was recovered about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home, did not match DNA in Nancy's home. Also did not have a hit in this national database. Let's take you out to this full extended, some 13-minute long interview. Justin Lum questioning Chris Nanos about some of these developments, getting clarity on some key pieces to this investigation.
Sheriff Chris Nanos, I know you're giving us limited time, and I appreciate it, with this investigation so fluid. But I want to go back a little bit early on. You said your gut told you that Nancy was taken from her home and that she is still alive at that time. What does your gut tell you now about the entry to the home? And was there forced entry? Or did she know the person that took her? What do you think now?
Okay, so I'm not going to get into the entry of the home or forced entry or any of that. What I'll tell you is I believe, just as I had initially, that Nancy was removed from that home against her will. She was kidnapped, and we still believe that.
How do you piece together the 40 minutes inside that home, after the doorbell camera disconnected? I mean, really, no idea still?
There's all kinds of thinking on that and theories. And to be honest, you don't want the sheriff's theories. Yeah. You want the investigators, because they're the ones who actually physically know the evidence, what they've collected, gathered, that crime scene. They were there. They're doing all the interviews. I have a team of young men and women who do this every day. I hear the pundits that, the crime scene should have been done, should have been held longer. Look, this team of mine has done this type of investigation, homicides, for example, for decades. They have one of the highest solvency clearance rates in the country. Sometimes they get that case that you think will never be solved done in a day. They're very good. They're very well trained. They know what they're doing. I don't go and tell them, okay, we've been here long enough, let's go home. They spent over 20 hours at that scene processing it. They, along with forensic techs who are trained, process these leads. Then they decide that they're done. They came here with all of their evidence. Some of the evidence we gave to the FBI. Why did we do that? Well, because we know the FBI is good with certain pieces of evidence, and they have the technological skills to deal with things like cameras and phones and different things. And we handed that to them. Ransom notes, gave them to the FBI. We use a lab that we've used again for decades for DNA. We submitted all of our biological evidence to that lab.
And you stand by that lab. I mean, was there any pushback by the FBI on that
No,
decision?
absolutely not. No, in fact, that's the point is FBI, the reason the FBI was part of this investigation immediately is we have members of our organization working with the FBI assigned to their building and have for decades. And they're the same here. So they were never not a part of this investigation. They were always a part of it. And to suggest that the sheriff blocked evidence, that's just crazy. We processed that scene. We went out and did a search warrant in Rio Rico, processed that scene, and the FBI found a glove. Hey, Sheriff, we're going to send this to Quantico and we'll check on DNA. I said, well, why do that? All of our DNA, all of it is at our lab. We'll just send it to ours. They said, makes sense, thanks, Sheriff. That quick.
That
There's
quick.
no argument or discussion. It's just about keeping your evidence together, let one lab deal with it. But that's not a slap at the lab we used or the lab the FBI used. FBI, we've used their labs before. They're very good. Our lab is very good. So it was never a discussion about the sheriff blocking evidence and not getting along with the FBI. We've always had a great working relationship.
What have we learned now about the glove, the DNA profile on that glove
Came back, I think, either late last night or early this morning. The DNA came back. It was submitted into CODIS, and we have no hits in CODIS.
I mean, this was a key piece of evidence. A lot of people, you know, the public waiting for that answer. Now, what's next? Do you go the
We have
genetic
more
genealogy route?
Well, absolutely, you do that. But we have other DNA evidence from the scene that is more critical to me than something found 2 miles away. All of that, though, will still be submitted for further analysis. That's, you know, you take a fingerprint and you hope to match it right away. But that's not that easy. You have to have so many points of characteristics that match on that fingerprint. DNA is no different. You have to have the DNA, have to have so many hits of lodi to make a comparative match. All of those things, sometimes DNA is mixed. We have DNA from that scene that is a mixture of DNAs. So we have to separate, hope the lab can do that, and still preserve some of that evidence in case the defense wants to test it, should we make an arrest. All of those things are considered. It is truly a complex process in gathering that evidence, submitting it, analyzing it, and then resubmitting it. So yes, you're correct. The next step of DNA for those pieces would be to submit for genealogy.
Okay, that's a big step there. What about the sample inside the home? What's the status of those results of testing?
Thing. It's the same thing. I prioritized the home, that's our crime scene, well above anything found 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away. And we still have work to do there too.
Okay. It seems, Sheriff, you know, that the department is almost like drowning in data. You have investigators have received 40,000 and 50,000 tips, at times 5,000 an hour between you and the FBI. I mean, logistically, how does an agency decide, even with the FBI's help, effectively sift through that volume and you know, make sure that the golden tip doesn't fall through the cracks?
Well, you know, you have, first of all, there are resources out there that will collect that data and sort through it for you and put it and prioritize it however you want it to be prioritized. Those programs exist. We know that, and we utilize them. But we take all of those leads, and a level 1 lead might be higher priority than a level 4 lead. Example of a level 1 lead would be that video, the door camera video. It's a big lead. A level 4 lead might be, hey, I was asleep last night and I dreamed of aliens coming down to Earth. We're not gonna diminish that lead and say, oh, don't bother us with that stuff. Send it to us. Because if I say don't send me that one, What does that tell the community? I don't want to bother the department. I don't want to bother them with this. This isn't that big. No, send them in. We will sort through the 30, 40,000 leads. It's when you stop getting those leads and you've ran out of leads, that's when your case has gone cold.
So you're saying bring it on, basically.
Bring it on. We're prepared to deal with it.
This goes with your coming off your statement yesterday. It was a big statement, because as recently as this past weekend, and even in the press conference, that you said that everyone is on the table, everyone's being questioned. Now you've officially cleared the family of Nancy Guthrie as suspects. You called them victims in this case. What specific piece of evidence changed between this weekend and Monday that allowed you to officially rule them out, or were they ruled out a while ago?
They've been ruled out a while ago. Here's the thing for that. And the reason you probably saw my remarks, and they were a little terse. Look, you just as I stepped up, see, when we had our last press conference, I told you wouldn't be hearing from us for press conference. We're just not going to hold press conferences to hold press conferences. What we would tell you is, as we get information, we will put it out, and that has happened. But when I have media, social media, news media, putting a wedge between two agencies, the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department, two agencies that consider each other viable to their existence, to be able to solve crimes, we need the FBI. The FBI needs the Sheriff's Department. When this case is all gone, there's still going to be the Sheriff's Department and the FBI. When you try to separate that, you're not just hurting those agencies, you're hurting my community. And I'm not going to stand here and let anybody say, oh, the sheriff has a bad relationship, or the sheriff blocked the evidence from the FBI. That is so far from the truth. Just as I'm not going to let anybody sit there and say mean things about our victims. We're cops. Sorry, I know, I'm a politician. I suck at that. I'm not a good politician. That's okay. But I know one thing. I've been a cop for 50 years. And I know a cop's job. And one of those, the main job is to do what? To protect. To protect those victims out there who have no voice, who expect somebody to stand up for them. When you say, look, this family is hurting. To say the things that have been said about them, and even to speculate, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. We're human beings. We're supposed to be better than that.
Staying on this topic, you called the suspicion toward the family cruel and wrong, going to your statement.
Yes.
But your department did conduct multiple searches. I know you're doing your job at Annie Guthrie's house, at Nancy Guthrie's house. There was some focus initially about the son-in-law dropping Nancy off, and then it changed to the family term.
But isn't that the natural progression of any investigation?
Yeah.
Is to go and see, okay, who last saw our victim? Who is it that talked to him? What do they know about him? And when did they last see him? And naturally, you're looking into that.
Understood.
I think the family knows that. But my goodness, at some point in time, when we've done all this, this family has cooperated 100%. 100% everything we've asked for them. Everything. Their cars, their phones, their computers, their statements. They are victims.
Do you acknowledge that, those actions, part of that investigative process, sort of created those optics that you see in the media, or is this social media's fault? YouTubers, true crime pundits?
Transparency, particularly from law enforcement. I think you go back a couple of years ago, George Floyd. There was a great demand for it. I'm now seeing transparency take a different turn. And in my mind, I kind of go, wow, no wonder so many chiefs or sheriffs hid from the cameras, didn't want to face that scrutiny. Transparency is not only good, it's needed, but there has to be a balance when that transparency goes, that people understand that there still is a criminal investigation, that criminal investigation touches people's lives, could mean people's lives, and that transparency is set up so that we can have communication with our community to give us leads and tips on things that might be critical to us. But I can't share the whole case with them. I can't just open up the doors and say, here it is, you guys. No, it is really about, for me, you have to be, look, throw your rocks at the sheriff. Make the politics what they are. The sheriff's a bad sheriff. Good, do all that white noise back here, because that's all it is to me. But you cannot attack my victims, and you cannot put a wedge between agencies that are working hard 24/7 to solve a case.
This is two-parted, but it's been 16 days. There's been 4 ransom demands at least. At what point does it stop being a rescue and become a recovery mission? And can you finish off by addressing the camera and giving your message to the person or persons responsible for Nancy's abduction?
Your question really is on, again, the sheriff's belief from day one that Nancy's still here. You have no proof, nobody does, that she's not, that she's deceased. They ask me, do I have proof of life? I ask them, is there proof of death? I'm going to have that faith. And sometimes that faith, that hope is all we have. My team, 400 people out there in the field today, woke up this morning and went out there with the hope and the belief that they're going to find Nancy and she's going to be okay. That family has that hope and belief. I'm not crushing that. We're going to continue working this case every minute of every day, and we will find her, and we will find you. The individual doing this, let her go. Just let her go. It will work out better for you in the long run. Trust me. Just let her go. Take her to a park. Take her to hospital. Just let her go.
That's the message from Chris Nanos there, the Pima County Sheriff. Just let her go. That as day number 17 of this investigation into the disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie in Tucson, Arizona. We're getting some new information, new details, statistics about exactly what the FBI is doing, because we know that DNA did not come back as a match in terms of it in the national database, but they're going to look at other genealogy potentially to trying to track down how it is potentially connected. We're also hearing about the FBI. They're receiving more than 18,000 tips related to this case since February 1st. Of course, the early morning hours of February 1st is when they believe that Nancy Guthrie was taken against her will from her home there in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood. They tout the number of calls to FBI non-emergency lines as 28,000 compared to some 18,000. So lots of calls coming in right now about all of this. Investigators were also at the property today conducting follow-up interviews. Details of that follow-up not being shared at this time.